pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Good morning to everybody. Guest menu for March the 30th as we get ready to transition to the next month in the year, April. Charles Edmond joins us for hour number 1. Coach Vann Pettaway for the entire show. A.D. Willa Brown joins us in hour number 1, and then our very special guest in hour number 2, Director of Athletics at Alabama State, Dr. Jason Cable. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. We finally have the HBCU basketball results, and I think we can safely say it's the closure of the season. We'll give you the information on some teams that finished their season in HBCU basketball. Also, SWAC baseball is in full swing. Matter of fact, Charles Edmonds is in Arkansas Pine Bluff, where Alcorn State and UAPB are going to conclude a baseball series today. We'll give you a Southern University football spring update. Mostly everyone wants to know who's going to win the quarterback position. I simply want to see the team improve and get better in their allotted time in spring football. And then we'll give you a Southern University softball update. They were victorious at Alcorn State yesterday. That's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Now we'll be joined by the panel. Charles Edmond, Coach Vann Pettaway. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Charles, I see you out in the nice sunshine in Pine Bluff.
Yes, sir. We're out here, and it's a couple of days ago, I needed 2 or 3 layers. It was like 60 degrees with a pretty stiff wind. But yesterday and today, perfect day, cloudy day a little bit, but the sun's breaking out, as you can see. But a good day for baseball. Not good for Braves baseball yesterday. Took a brutal hit yesterday, but you got to bounce back today. You got another opportunity. Yesterday was ugly. It was one of those days as an announcer, as a coach, if you're a player in that dugout, it was bad. Considering what happened 2 days ago, in which we came from behind from 6-1 down to win, and you felt like, okay, we can get our footing a little bit. But then Pine Bluff came out, as Coach Williams told me, Pine Bluff's going to come out yesterday, and they did. And so it's one loss. I know a lot of people aren't happy from the Braves' perspective in terms of what happened, but you got to bounce back today, and we have an opportunity.
Coach Pettaway,
Yes.
how are you, sir?
Doing fine, Carlos. It's a great day here in Huntsville. The sun's out. It's a little windy here today, but forecast looks good. And I was just looking over the some of the baseball standings. I know you're going to get into that later, and I know Charles is out at Pine Bluff, but we got some teams that are really showing people that they're ready to play this year.
Well, yeah, we're in the gist of the SWAC baseball conference season, and we'll definitely get into that as well. We'll take a quick time out, make some adjustments here. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
The quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Carlos Brown, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Coach Pettaway, CIT champs, Norfolk State over Purdue Fort Wayne, 75-67.
Yeah, it was a great game. I got an opportunity to watch the game. In fact, Norfolk had to come from behind. In the beginning, you thought Indiana was going to run away with it. But Norfolk fought their way back and they won the game. Carlos, I'll be right back. I don't know if I'm hitting this problem. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. We apologize. A little technical issues there. I think even my mic it's the audio is kind of messed up, so I apologize. Norfolk State over Purdue Fort Wayne, 75-67 in the WNIT. Troy over North Carolina State. North Carolina A&T, excuse me, 89-75. Let's see. Let's take another break. We'll try to get this situation straight. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Coach Pettaway, we got you back?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. It may be Charles's mic because he's outside. I'm not sure. But Coach, let's go on. I was talking about Norfolk State over Purdue Fort Wayne. They are now the CIT champions. Also in WNIT was Troy over North Carolina A&T, 89-75. But the previous game, North Carolina A&T, and that's the women, they had a last-second shot that they defeated Old Dominion. Also, Langston made it all the way to the NAIA championship game, and they lost 71-67. But a great season. Nevertheless, they made it all the way to the NAIA championship game. So, with that being said, I believe HBCU basketball, now the results, the season have come to an end.
Right, Carlos, I think it was a great season when you look at the overall picture. I thought that having teams in postseason play, everybody's not going to be able to go to the NC2A tournament, but there are other tournaments out there, and I'm just glad to see that some of our schools are taking advantage of that. I think it's great, and I know for a fact I've been working with the CIT for years, and they've always offered opportunities to the HBCUs, and I just hope that policy will continue in the future. And then we got to wait and see what the NC2A is going to do when it comes to expansion. How does that affect the SWAC? How does that affect all the schools? Are they now going to go to the AQ being the conference champion, or will they still allow the AQ to be with the conference tournaments? Because that will depend. That will determine how a lot of coaches and administrators look at the season and the conference tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach Pettaway, talking about expansion in the NCAA basketball tournament. Then last week when we were talking with Coach Johnson, did you hear that little nugget he dropped about less conference games?
Right.
I had to go back. So now it means more non-conference games. Here we go again. Quad 1, quad 2 games. We'll ask Dr. Cable what his perspective and philosophy on this. And I'm not saying what the way I feel is right. I have an opinion on it. But when we're looking at now some of the changes in collegiate athletics, specifically in basketball, I think now we're going to go back to that old topic again, Coach Pettaway. You're going to have to make a decision. Schedule smart, schedule balance. Do you continue to play all of those guarantee games? And that's what we call it. But, we've talked about it a lot here on this show. Let's see if Charles will add your mic, and let's see if we have the same situation. If not, then everything is all fixed. Yeah, you got to turn your mic on, Charles.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think it was me. I had my little different setup, so I think it was coming back. So I think I was the problem. So I apologize for that.
Well, Melanie got it straight, our producer, so we appreciate it.
Melanie, great job. Great producers. My thing is about expansion. I've read all the stuff about it. I think it's going to happen probably more later than sooner. I don't see it happening in the next couple of years. You're talking about a bigger field. Even though it could happen quicker, I don't see it. I think there's probably going to be a little pushback on it, and I think it's going to stall. It may happen, and I'm riding the fence here, but I do think somewhere down the road it might happen. But anything immediate, I don't see it happening. When you're seeing these upsets, look at what happened with Houston yesterday. How many brackets are left? I think there was one perfect bracket as of 2 days ago. Now I'm sure the brackets are all busted now. I would like to see the field expanded to get more opportunities, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. But I'm looking at it, Coach Pettaway, from a local perspective, from the SWAC's perspective. All right, now that we're all done, I would like to see, and I know Coach Bussey's talked about getting in through the playing route. Okay, great. We're going to get paid by virtue of winning that game. The SWAC's going to get paid. Gramblin's going to get paid by moving on and winning that 16 versus 16. But then look at what happens on the other side of it. You're looking at one of the top 4 teams in the country.
Right.
On the other side of it. So my thing is, are we happy with that? Or can we help ourselves a little bit more by getting a higher seed to begin with? Instead of a 16, what about a 14? What about a 13? I know Coach Reed felt like she was an 11 or 12 seed. I'm looking at it from that perspective because we've seen these upsets. And I think even when we were a 14 seed back in 99. We played Stanford and Mark Madsen. If you remember Mark Madsen, we almost knocked off Stanford then. So I'm just wondering about trying to get the best seed we can. I like the playing game, but then you're looking at a top seed on the other side of it. Grambling gave a good accounting for the conference and for themselves. So I'm just trying to figure out what we can do to get the best seed that we can. And even our coaches even interested in doing something like that. Our coaches on a string in terms of scheduling to where the conference can help themselves and these teams can help themselves as well as help the SWAC to get the best seed, because a better seed, because that's my concern right now. Yes, the playing game is great. Yes, Grambling first time in school history that they're in the tournament. But I'd like to see us get a 13 seed because I think we'd have a good chance, a better chance than facing a number 1 Goliath, because that's what you're looking at.
Right. Well, you're right. But you know what, Charles? I think it's going to take everybody on all three, from the commissioner, the SWAC conference, the ADs. Everybody's got to put their heads together to come up with a solution, because the solution is for our RPI, for the conference. RPI has to increase. So now you got to find out, how do you do that? How do you get the SWAC's RPI up to where they're not a 16 seed? And it's got to be the whole conference, not just that one team that wins that year. I think all these seedings are based on where your conference ranks at the end of the regular season. So how do we improve our ranking. And I think it's going to come back to the schedule. I think it's going to come back to a commitment from the presidents, from the athletic directors, and from the coaches to find a formula that works best to get the SWAC conference moved up. And I think it's going to take everybody. And then as they figure out a way to do this, then our fans have to be patient because things may have to change in order for us to move up our conference ranking. But I think the big part of it is going to be that schedule.
Yeah. And last week, Carlos, someone made a point about Mississippi State that was put up on the screen last week. How did Mississippi State get in despite their struggles? Well, you know why they got in? They rode the backs of the SEC. Right. Look at who's in the Elite Eight. Alabama. You got Kentucky. You got Auburn. You got Tennessee. You got all those teams in the SEC who had relatively good seasons. And when your conference is bolstered, there might be a team that's on the fence that might get in on the backs of what their conference did throughout the course of non-conference. That's how Mississippi State got in. And you're going to see at least one or two examples. And even in the ACC, there might be a team on the fence. But if the ACC collectively had a good year, a team that's kind of mid-level could probably sneak in as one of the last four. So that's what happens in that. Now, that's a whole different level. But I'm just saying we as a conference have to do better from top to bottom. Do I see it happening? I hate to say it. Probably not. I'd like to see all 12 coaches get in the spring meeting in a meeting room and say, hey, what can we do to elevate this thing? And but when you get the ADs and the VPs of finance involved, I think that's where the conversation stops because they got to bring in the money with these guarantee games. So I think that's where it starts. We know where it starts, and I think we know where it stops.
And we know, and guys, you can see my face because, here we go again, playing. Some coaches, shame on them. Playing, I guess I just don't understand that. We know where it goes. It starts with that scheduling, Coach Pettaway and Charles. It's just a simply cut this way. You're going to continue to schedule guarantee games because you're told to do so, and you have to bring in a certain amount of money? Or do you schedule smart? Coach Bozeman at Morgan State, Floyd Kerr was the AD. There's a blueprint. As Coach Graves said in the comments, there's a blueprint to get it done. It's just a matter of getting it done. Do you want to do it or not? Bottom line, we talk about quad one games, quad two. We know the quad one games are all the guarantee games. We've talked to death about being balanced in the conference schedules.
Doing all right?
That's simply where it's at. That is where the decision at now. We can go around and around and around and talk about this to the ends of time. We got to make a decision. And somebody in the comments said we got to grow the conference together. You're absolutely right. There's a blueprint there. It's out there. You follow it or you don't. Bottom line. Coach Pettaway.
Well, you're absolutely correct. And then the other thing is, when it comes to recruiting, all of that's going to go back to your schedule. Recruiting is going to be the lifeblood of the conference. We can have all these great players, but the thing that's hurting us now is the portal and the NIL. That's just like now, man. Have you all seen the Charles? I know last week you mentioned about the men being in the portal, but now, Carlos, this week it's our women. It's our women in the portal, man. If you'll bear with me, Alabama A&M has 4 people in the portal. Then when you look up Alabama State, they've got 1. Alcorn State's got 1. Now, Arkansas Pine Bluff has 4 people in the portal. They got Shepard, they got Reese, they got Beck, and then Pete. They're all in the portal right now for Pine Bluff. Bethune-Cookman, Neil Jordan is in the portal. Amira Tucker, DeShante Edwards. That's 3 people from them. Then you go down to Grambling. Grambling has just 1. Harris, their centers in the portal. And then this shocked me, Jackson State. Maya Pratchett, she's in the portal. Taylor Woodhouse in the portal. Mississippi Valley has 3 people in the portal. Prairie View 1, Southern 1, Texas Southern has two people in the portal right now. Then you go up on the East Coast, Delaware State's got 2 people. Howard's got 3 people in the portal, Morgan and Maryland Eastern Shore. So that's on the women's side. So now you can imagine what it's like on the men's side with conference season. I mean, with conference seasons being over, these kids are jumping in the portal. So now we're having to start all over again when it comes to putting together a team. So that is going to affect how we play and what we do in the fall. That's going to affect our RPI. That's now we're in the same cycle. We going over the same things again because you're losing personnel off of teams that were pretty solid, and now they got to rebuild after their kids have jumped in the portal. So that's going to hurt us when the season starts.
Let me ask you this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Coach Pettaway, as far as a coach is concerned, all right, so we know what the portal is about. It's free agency. Rosters are going to be turned over just about every year for most of these teams. You talked about the men. Let's talk about that. Jackson State, Ken Evans, Player of the Year. Colty Young in the transfer portal. Milton for UAPB in the portal. These are just, in the first 4 days, there was over 500 players in the transfer portal the first 4 days that window opened, and now it's almost 1,000 players now as we speak. So rosters are going to turn over. And so my question is, and I think Kevin Johnson mentioned it last week about he's going to the Bahamas and playing a game sometime this summer. You see a lot of these teams at the next level going to Argentina and Spain and China and Paris playing these games in the summer. I'm just wondering and just thinking about this, because of the fact these rosters turn over so much, you really, as a coach in this league, don't really know what you really have in November and December. You're still trying to figure it out. And could that be, and maybe it's an excuse, but could that be a part of the struggles that we have early on, because you really don't know what you got until you know what you got? And that's probably the light bulb may not go off till conference play, because you're playing all these games in such a short window, trying to figure out your rotation. Could that be an issue for us in terms of maybe playing some games in the summer or maybe early fall? Because I know some of these teams, go off in the fall as well before school starts. Could that be a part of the issue, and maybe to help develop your roster and develop the camaraderie you need to be able to know what you got once you get to November?
I think it is, Charles. That's a big issue, and a lot of schools are doing this. They're doing the tours so that they can keep their squads together, so they can find out early what they got. And Coach Johnson was right. With that group he has, he wants to keep them together for the summer. You get those extra practice time, then you get games, and they're meaningful games, but they don't count against your schedule or your RPI. So that is great. But here's your problem. Some of the tours you can get help with. In other words, like when I took my team to Mexico, all of our expenses were paid. Alabama A&M didn't have to come up with anything. The only thing we did, we took extra money for meals because, going to Mexico, we didn't know what to expect. But finding a sponsor or finding a country that will allow you, like this is the Olympic year, a lot of these countries need teams to come over and play against their Olympic hopefuls. So the tours are out there, and this is a great method for the coaches to find out early what they have, what they're missing, and they got time to work on it. And you're doing it in the summer when it's less stressful, and you got an opportunity to do something about it before school starts in the fall. And then some of the schools, like you said, Charles, they wait right until school start, and then they go on a tour. Well, when you do that now, you stuck with your roster because your school has already started. But it does give you the experience. It does give your team an opportunity to bond. And so you got a full-fledged games going on, and you get to know what you have right away before you ever get off into your schedule. So the tours are a great tool for these coaches to evaluate themselves and their personnel.
Yeah, and I believe Coach Johnson said in the summer. Coach Pettaway, isn't that the better time?
Yes, yes.
in the summer with the transfer portal. We've talked about that. It's it gives and it takes away. So basically, I think we came to the conclusion that you got to recruit the players that you have on your roster every year. And I'm looking in the chat room. You know, some are saying, look, you just got to adjust. You got to make adjustment, and you got to do it. College athletics is ever changing, and it's not going to go away. NIL deals, transfer portal. Coach Pettaway, if you would be coaching now, you know, you didn't have all these things when you were coaching,
right?
Wouldn't you have to make the adjustment? And boy, is it tougher now to coach?
Right. I would make the adjustment, but I'm gonna tell you the first thing that I would go after if I was coaching on the collegiate level now, I would make sure that one of the things that my institution had in place was cost of attendance. Now that's money that goes in your athlete's pocket, right? And they can get that for first semester and second semester. Now, we may not have the big NIL deals, but you can still put money in those kids' pockets, man. And I think that will help in recruiting. Because if you really look at it now, if a kid qualifies for financial aid, I think it was $4,800 a year back then when I was coaching. So you divide that up over 2 semesters. That's over $2,000 that they're putting in their pocket. Then if you add in cost of attendance, depending on where that kid is from, man, those kids could be putting in over $5,000 in their pocket per semester if the schools would look at that. Now, how do you come up with it? If the school doesn't have collective agreements with the alumni association, then let's do some now I'll do my own creative financing. Okay, I will play a guarantee game. The guarantee game is the fund for my cost of attendance. The guarantee game is the cost is to be used to help my program. Now, in that case, I promise you, as a coach, I will do what I can to make sure that my program and my kids are being treated with respect and being treated fairly. Well, let me pull back the word respect. Fairly. Because across the board, other schools are giving cost of attendance. We got to get with it in the SWAC, man. That's got to be basics. You don't have to have NIL. Everybody's not going to get NIL, but everybody should be able to give out cost of attendance. The NC2A put that out there to help us, and we're not taking advantage of it. You can't just take, Carlos, you cannot just take all of the guarantee money and put it in the general fund. You got to put something back. You got to reinvest in your athletic departments, in your program. The program that's going out getting their head whooped, bringing that money in. Reinvest in that program. That's all I would ask. That's all I would ask.
Coach Pettaway, you're preaching to the choir. Let me go in the chat room. Dr. Cavill says the number one issue is increasing seeding as to deal with generating more revenue for the conference and dedicating that revenue to the basketball programs based on cost of attendance and facilities. Sounds familiar, huh, Coach Pettaway?
Yes.
And also, Dr. Cavill said cost of attendance is the number one issue. NIL is much further down the line. Now, if I remember having Coach Banks on before, he said he would like to, that's something that he would like to do. Coach Pettaway, how do you finance that? I know you just mentioned a guarantee game. Wait a minute, Coach Pettaway, so you would only have just 1 or 2 maybe, right? Not 7 or 8 or 9, 10 of those games.
Not 10, no.
Okay. And I guess when we had A.D. Wheeler Brown, from the financial standpoint, the institutions, how do they finance? Oh, wow, there he goes. It's magic.
Carlos, I'm serious. You know this thing that they call collective? That's where graduates, alumnus, they put this pool of money together that is used for athletics. Now, at the HBCU level, we can do that. No, we're not going to get all those millions, but we can get enough money that we can use for these kids for cost of attendance.
Mm-hmm.
Now those funds that's not coming from the university. That's outside the university.
Right.
And I think we need more programs like that to help these athletes, because if you're going to continue to build a consistent program, you got to do it with the athletes. How are you getting these athletes? You got to get them. You got to give them something, man, that they can take home to mom and daddy. You got to give those kids something that they can live off while they're students on your campus. Because if you don't, you're going to lose them to NIL deals. The schools that can offer, the mid-majors that can offer NILs, they're taking our athletes. Jalen Johnson left Alabama. That young man left because he was offered an NIL deal. You
or cost of attendance.
You have to close the gap. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
I say or cost of attendance. I mean,
right.
And I was going to ask the question, and I'm glad A.D. Wheeler Brown is on, because the question, from my understanding, the cost of attendance amount, that's something the university has to come up with within their own coffers. They've got to be able to finance that within their own processes. Is that fact or fiction?
That's a fact. That's a fact. And the bottom line being, well, there's two things. Number one is, how do you do it fairly?
Mm-hmm.
Because you just can't say, well, we're going to do this for men's basketball, women's basketball, football. What about volleyball? What about softball? Then the second thing becomes, what about the rest of the members of their particular team? Are you doing it just for the superstars or the ones that you think are going to jump in the transfer portal at the drop of a hat, that sort of thing? Or are you trying to do this thing all the way across the board? And I agree. The cost of attendance thing is probably a little easier, quote unquote, than the NIL. But at the same time, you're going to have to find a way to fund it all. Now, how do you decide what that number is going to be? Are you going to base it off of how much athletic scholarship dollar that particular kid gets? Or is it going to be off of how much financial aid the kid gets totally, that sort of thing? But the bottom line being, everybody's not going to get the same amount. And, so you're opening up a can of worms in terms of somebody ain't going to be happy. That's pretty much going to be the bottom line. The left tackle is not going to get as much as the quarterback. The point guard that's averaging 15 and 9 assists per game is not going to get as much as the backup point guard who's only averaging 4 points and 2 assists per game. And so, how do you deal with those particular issues, as a coach moving forward? So those things you gotta take a look at, a long, hard look at, in terms of how do you do this thing fairly if you have an opportunity to do so, on top of where the money's going to come from. We can talk about the collectives and we can call it whatever we want to call it across the board, but though you're pulling from the same pool that you have alums that are giving right now. You're just asking them not to give here, but put it over here. And this is the reason why we're asking you to put it over here. Instead of drawing from a whole new segment of people, a whole new segment of dollars in terms of trying to get this thing done. You're drawing water from the same well. You're just trying to redistribute that water now. If you think, if I call it a collective, I'm going to get 30 new people that's going to jump out there and do this thing. I don't think that's a realistic charge. So you're asking people that are already given to give in this or that particular area, and like I said, how do you make sure that it's done fairly across the board? I see Dr. Cavell was saying, many of the HBCU, the non-revenue sports are not fully funded. No, they're not. But does that mean that I'm not worthy of?
No. But AD Brown, remember this now. The NC2A is the one that came up with the cost of attendance.
Yes.
And you have to be on scholarship to be eligible for that.
Yes.
Okay, you have to be on scholarship to be eligible for it, right?
Yes. So yes, you do.
They have already put some parameters in there that will help you. But and then the other thing that they put in there on the cost of attendance, it's going to be different anyway because it's from your home of record to that institution.
And so, I understand that. I understand that, Coach Pettaway. And I'm just going to throw a hypothetical out there on you. Okay? I got my starting point guard who is a 4.0 student and who's getting a presidential scholarship. So everything is taken care of, that sort of thing. He's not getting any athletic aid at all. Okay, and because he's not getting any athletic aid at all, now he's not qualified for the cost of attendance. Correct. How do I take care of him? Or that 3.5 kid, or that 3.8 kid, who's taking one for the team by not costing me anything, but I need to find a way to make sure that I take care of everybody, as fairly as I possibly can.
Right. A.D. Brown, that's a great example. But now, as the head coach, if that's my starting point guard, he's not going to be on no doggone academic scholarship. He's going to be on an athletic scholarship. We not playing with him now. Because if this was your quarterback, if this was your starting quarterback, you would not have him on the doggone academic scholarship that they can pull from him because he's out there competing for you. My point guard would be on a scholarship, an athletic scholarship. Now, are you telling me I don't have all my scholarship? Well, then that's the other issue. That would be the other issue. If you my AD, you need to be working to make sure that I got all my scholarships. So I'm not put in that situation.
That's true. That's true. That you are absolutely right. And in my quest to do so, okay, the priority is going to be to make sure, first of all, that everybody's fully funded.
Right.
And then, secondly, let's look at trying to fund cost of attendance. Yeah. But if I'm only giving, if I'm D1, I'm only giving 36 football scholarships, okay, I can't be overly concerned with making sure those 36 full rides are getting cost of attendance when there's another 30-something kids who aren't getting any money at all. I need to be trying to find a way to level that playing field and even that thing up.
But now, A.D. Brown, even as a basketball coach, I wouldn't want you to give out only 36 football scholarships. You know why? Because now you don't qualify for game guarantees.
That's true. That's true.
So I would want, now look, being a team player, I would tell the other coaches, hey, we need our football team to get all of their scholarships because that will let them qualify to play a guarantee game. Mm-hmm. Now, in playing a guarantee game, they could bring enough money into this university to help all of the other sports. And that's the way I would look at it as a member of the athletic department. I would call myself a team player.
Not six-wheeler. Not 8, not 10. Remember balance. Maybe 3.
Yeah, balance. Balance is the key. Hey, that's the big word for 24, 25. Balance. That's balance. We gotta have it.
It works. Yeah.
We gotta have it.
But you gotta start somewhere. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But Carlos, and this is the other bottom line. Okay, all those girls that I saw that this morning, Coach Pettaway, when I was doing a little research, that sort of thing, in terms of all the SWAC girls that have gotten into the transfer portal. 75% of those kids aren't going to find anywhere to go. You got one girl, I think her high was like 7 points against Lancaster Bible.
Come on.
Now, who's going to pick her up? Realistically, who is going to pick her up?
Yeah.
I mean, so, but you look at those things, you got people just throwing a name out there just for the sake of throwing a name out there. The little 5 minutes of fame or whatever it is, the little poster that they put on these websites, I'm taking my talents to the transfer portal, all that sort of thing. And, I'm averaging 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists per game. I mean, at the end of the day, who are you attracting? I mean, I just don't, I don't see it. But then, you beg to come back to these institutions and expect them to take you with open arms. I mean, to me, I have an issue with that. And from a coaching point of view, I'm going to tell you, if I was still coaching, I'd have an issue with a kid putting his name in that portal, okay, and then nobody takes him, and he wants me to take him back. I got an issue with that, Carlos. We don't talk about that part enough. We talk about these coaches, opening the doors back up with welcome arms and all that sort of thing. But what does this do mentally to the makeup of your team? Knowing that your best player was trying to get out of there. And the only reason he's still here is because nobody offered him. I got an issue with that, and nobody talks about that, Carlos, from a coaching point of view, but that's something that definitely needs to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. I could be cruel. I could be cruel and say I ain't letting you back, but I mean, I'm not going that route, but, we all going to have to eat some humble pie here, in terms of how do we handle this thing.
Well, I can give you 2 examples, guys.
I would have an issue with that. Go ahead, Charles.
I would eat just a little small piece, and that's an interesting point, because some people in the portal averaging 1-2 points a game. Let's just be honest. Some of us will say goodbye. Don't let the door hit you. But now you got the other ones that have really been very good for the program and the team. They want to leave. So then you get back to, again, what many have said. Literally, it's the state of college athletics now. And we say college athletic amateurism, it's pretty much almost gone. So, but anyway, go ahead, Charles.
Well, I'll give you an example on both occasions, guys. One of our key contributors on our women's basketball team, Zaniyah White, was in the transfer portal last spring. She nibbled out there to see what was out there. There was nothing out there. She begged Coach Kilbert and assistant Elvis Robinson and Lisa Powell to take her back. After changing her ways, they took her back. And she was a key contributor to our women's basketball team's success, especially in the postseason. So that's one example of putting your name out there, didn't see anything, you beg your coach to take you back, they took her back. But
Charles, you said change the ways?
Yeah, just in terms of just the attitude. I think just,
she had an attitude?
Well, I'm just saying, just in terms of, yeah. Well, if you just kind of want to say that, yeah.
Okay.
So she took it. She put her name out there to see what was out there, and it wasn't anything out there to her liking. So, she's from Hazelhurst, so she's right down the road from school. So she came back. She begged coaches to take her back. They took her back. She changed. Her game changed, and she was a big impact player. Now, on the other side of the coin, you talk with our football coach, Cedric Thomas, about it. And hey, there's no turning back as far as he's concerned. When you hit the portal, that's it. You know, make sure this is what you want to do, because once it's there, that's it. You know, and so I don't know what coaches feel about that. You know, youngsters make mistakes, but you know, I don't know how all coaches feel about it. But there are two examples right here on our campus of one maybe keeping the door slightly ajar in some cases, and then you have others. Hey, we moving on. If you moving on, so are we. So that's kind of, you know, I don't know what Coach Johnson feels about it, or Coach Graves. I don't know what. I mean, you got to talk to different coaches about it. But there are two schools of thought about it, and because there's so many players in the transfer portal, so much talent. You had the Player of the Year, Ken Evans, in the transfer portal. I was shocked. Milton or UAPB, you got two of the top 5 or 6 scorers
in the league
inside in the transfer portal. That's absolutely shocking to me. And then Colty Young, a kid that hit a big 3 against us a couple of years ago at home, he's in the portal. So I mean, so teams are, and then, you know, Coach Pettaway, I don't know, and this is what I'm hearing. Players want to move on, they want to test the waters, but then I'm also hearing that there's a little bit of nudging from the coaches too, trying to nudge some of these players out the door, because they know that's got a lot of talent. And hey, there's a little bit of nudging out the door too.
Oh, what a mess!
Absolutely, right. Yes, sir. This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this from several different sources. A little bit of nudging out the door too is going on. Now that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but this is kind of the brutal reality of where we are when it comes to the transfer portal, because there's so much talent out there for you to pick from.
Right, and Charles, you're absolutely correct. There are times that when you look at that roster, you say you might need that spot. So you are encouraging them to get in the portal. But A.D. Brown, you would not have a problem for me. We're the same way when it comes to a kid that wants to leave my program. And me bringing it back. No. That's not going to happen, because especially if I go out and replace you, you can come back, but you can walk on. You no longer have your scholarship. You can walk on to my program, but I'm not going to give you money after you've had the money and you decided you wanted to go elsewhere. Now, the other thing, I think you do it on a case-by-case basis. Okay, what if a kid wants to leave, not necessarily because he dislikes what's happening in your program, but he needs to get home. He needs to get closer to home because of family situations, right? Now, that's different. That's different, because the compassionate side of me, I will help that kid to try to get closer to home, because he needs to be with his people, right? But now, like you mentioned, these top scorers in the league, why are they leaving their program? Are they saying they didn't get enough shots? Well, if you can really shoot the basketball and you come to play for Coach Pettaway, you're going to get your shots. I will give you more shots than what you were getting. So in that sense, I'm using the portal to my advantage. You got kids who can score. They're not happy with where they were, but now the Alabama A&M, you know my style of play. You'll get more shots. Come play for me. So the portal can help some people and it can hurt others. But why are our kids getting in the portal? Some of them are getting in the portal because they're being offered other things that we're not giving them. That's cost of attendance. That's NILs. That's the gap that has to be closed for us to keep our kids who can play in our conference. That's what has to happen now. And we got to figure out a way. When I say we, it's everybody. It's not just the coach, it's the AD, it's the presidents, it's the VPs for finances. All of those people got to get together and figure out, is this what we want to do? Do we really want to compete? If we want to compete, these are some of the things that we must do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We must do this. And then to be fair, we got to see if we can do it across the board. To be fair, you got to see if you can do it across the board. That's it in a nutshell, Carlos.
Yeah,
I agree. These are the times we're in now.
That's why I wish I was a fly on the wall in the SWAC spring meetings when you got your basketball coaches and your ADs. If it was me, and I was going to ask Coach Bussey this on the show the other day, I was going to say, look, Coach, why don't you poll the rest of your coaches and see what interest do they really have in trying to improve the seed in the NCAA tournament? The playing game, yes, that's fine. But then you're stared at a number one of the top 4 teams in the country. Why not try to improve your seeding on the front end? See, we catch this on the back end in March and we complain. But you and I, Carlos, talk about this stuff in November and December, and nobody pays attention. And all of a sudden, we get hit upside the head with what's going on. No, it's too late. Then it's already been determined. Our seeding, our place in the big dance has already been determined by the time the first SWAC game has been played. So let's work on the front end to improve our posture. But I've just wondered, just as a question, do our ADs and coaches really care about a higher seeding? Are they just happy to be in the big dance instead of trying to be a 14 or 13 or 12 and schedule better, schedule smarter? I don't know.
I think they care, Charles. I think they care.
Well, I'm going to ask Dr. Paper that.
I think it's a philosophical difference by institutions, you know, and so I think that comes into play more than anything else. And I think that's probably why there's not a whole lot of talk, you know, at the meetings and, you know, things of that nature, because the people that make the decisions aren't in the meeting. You know, you don't have representatives from the president's office. You don't have, you know, what their particular view is, that sort of thing. I mean, you got the AD there, but he's not going to speak in terms of, you know, well, my president ain't going to do this, that, and the other, that sort of thing. But he knows going in the door, ain't no need in us talking about this. You know, my guy ain't going for this. You know, and you probably got another 4 or 5 presidents that think the same way, you know. So, I mean, you know, that's probably why there's not a lot of discussion. The discussion needs to be had not only, you know, with the presidents, commissioner needs to be there, AD needs to be there, you know, but more importantly, those presidents have got to be there. You know, I mean, the ADs are the sounding board, you know, for the president. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that, you know, but 9 times out of 10, their philosophy is a little different from the president's philosophy. But there I go in with my viewpoint. You know, should it be different from, you know, the way my president is feeling, that sort of thing, and expect to have my job on Monday morning.
Right, but Willie Brown, isn't it our job to try to educate these presidents,
And
educate
that's the key.
the aid? I'm serious. An education process has to start somewhere, because this is not getting any better. So somebody has to do that. I like what you said, that the commissioner needs to be a part of, the athletic directors and the presidents. They need to all be together and sit down and understand what the coaches are faced with when it comes to keeping a roster together, putting a competitive team on the floor, on the field. It's got to be somebody. It's got to start somewhere.
I agree with you, Coach Pettaway, and I think they know. I don't think it's an AD in the conference, you know, that doesn't know. Yeah, I believe the commissioner knows. He's been around long enough. He's been an AD long enough. You know, you got people at these schools that know. You know, the bottom line being, like I said, you know, from the president's office, the little clique or whatever it is that's in between, you know, those stages, that sort of thing, that's where the final decisions are being made. You know, and you know, as an AD, you know, pretty much what's a winnable situation and what is not a winnable situation. You know, so it's all about whether or not you got your big boy drawers on that particular day and you ready to walk up in there and pull them tight, you know, and go in there and, you know, this is what we need, that sort of thing. And, you know, hopefully you can get some concessions out of that whole thing. But, you know, these presidents, they're going to tell you, you know, Carlos Brown, I got 8,000 students I got to worry about. You know, you want me to make a dynamic decision for 250 student athletes, and I got another 8,250 people out there that I have to scrap and scrape for that sort of thing. And, they're looking past all the goodwill. They're looking past the great publicity that having these great sport teams are going to bring to the institution. They're not thinking about that, okay, in the long run. They're thinking about saving that dollar, this dollar right here, right now. But Carlos Brown, you better win.
Right, right. But AD
you
Brown,
better
what I'm
win
saying
on
is,
Saturday.
why not do it as a group, not one individual AD going to his president? Why not let all the presidents know that all the ADs, we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat, and this is what gonna help us to get this boat back to the bank. We need,
and that's where the commissioner comes in. That's where the commissioner comes in.
Right.
He is the common denominator. He's the bridge, okay, for all of this right here. He's the bridge. He's the one
that's what
that
we need to pass the South.
If they're going to listen to
Right.
anybody, exactly. If they're going to listen to anybody, they're going to listen to the commissioner.
Right.
Because he's the person that stands both sides of the coin. So he's the one that's got to put that out there in terms of, this is what we need for the good, for everybody's good, not just for Alcorn's good or Jackson State's good, that sort of thing.
Now, keep in
he's
mind,
got to be the one to put that out there.
Right. Keep in mind now, the commissioner has already identified money that he's given to each school. And what did he say? This can be used for NIL. Cost of attendance. He said that back in the fall. They had this new revenue stream from one of the sponsors, and they say that they're giving each institution a certain amount, and this money can go towards that. Now, when it gets to the institution, is it getting to the athletic department for it to be used?
You know the answer to that, Coach Pettaway.
Right, but that's what has to stop.
And
that's what has to stop.
And
because when you get up and talk to me about my record, that's what I'm gonna bring up. But didn't we get some money where I could have kept my doggone point guard, or I could have kept my center? What happened to the free money that the conference gave us to use for cost of attendance? Just cost of attendance would have kept that kid here. Come on.
They're gonna say it went towards those new uniforms you wanted, Coach Pettaway, or those extra pair of Air Jordans that you wanted your kids to wear, that sort of thing. Or you spent an extra night in a hotel in Texas at Texas Southern, and we had to foot that, and another day of buses that we hadn't planned on. Oh, they have a long drawn out rap sheet ready for you. This is where it is. This is where. Oh, and by the way, we had to get a volleyball team, about 20,000, in order for them to go to the NCAAs or something like that. Yeah, so they got it. They got a sheet for you, Coach Pettaway. Believe that.
Well, on that note, boys, hot and heavy in the chat room. There was one, I believe, EA. I'll paraphrase it, saying about Title IX and that issue. Does it hurt HBCU athletics? Well, that's a whole nother story. It's a federal law, so it's not that you can't choose to abide by it. You gotta do it.
Right.
So with that being said, Charles, you have a broadcast. We appreciate the time. But coming up next, or very shortly, Dr. Jason Cable, Director of Athletics at Alabama State. I guess we'll pose some of the scenarios to him and see what his perspective on all of this. It's going to be interesting. I tell you what. Go ahead.
Well, Carlos, when Dr. Cable comes on, when he played college ball at Alcorn, they called him Shooter because he was a shooter. So call Dr. Cable Shooter because that was his nickname when he played under the late Dave Whitney.
Yeah. and a Huntsville, Alabama native.
Yes.
Right. They took him from me, Carlos. They took him from me.
Worked in the Southwestern Athletic Conference as associate commissioner, now director of athletics. Wow. He's seen it all. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see. I tell you what, Wheeler, I often have given ADs a hard time, but it's a tough job.
Yes, it is.
And guess what? Now, from what I'm seeing, it takes a collective of everybody involved
Mm-hmm.
to kind of keep the ship right. And speaking of ship, our thoughts and prayers with the city of Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
and the incident that happened this past week and all of those who lost their lives. We discuss all of these situations, but life is life. You know, and you want to have a long life. You want to have a perfect life for some. But if the good days outweigh the bad days, that's about the best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll come back, visit with Dr. Cable, Director of Athletics at Alabama State. Also in hour number 2, Southern University football spring update. Wheeler, nobody wants to know what the O-line is doing, the defensive line. They want to know who's going to run the team. But I'll tell you what, Coach Graves says he's happy with the enthusiasm, and you know, if you improve every day,
Mm-hmm.
get better every day. That's what I look at. But anyway, we'll come back. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show. Hour number 2 coming up right here on the Black College Sports Network.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, The Science Machine, Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you there.
If you think all pads are...
Oh, guess we're back.
I guess we are.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We're going to bring in now the Director of Athletics at Alabama State, former collegiate basketball player, worked in the commissioner's office, associate commissioner. He's done it all, and a Huntsville native, Dr. Cable. Good morning to you, sir, or good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Dr. Cable, I don't know if you heard some of the conversation while you were in the waiting room, but with that being said, I'll start off with the state of Alabama State athletics. From the outside looking in, it seems to be on very good footing, but what's the state of Alabama State athletics?
I think our trajectory is up. Looking at programs over the last couple of years, we're moving in the right direction. We was able to get a shot in the arm by hiring Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. in football. So we've had 2 winning seasons back to back, most wins in the last 10 years. So that program is moving in the right direction. Coach Madlock, men's basketball program, we hadn't made a tournament since 2019. We was able to get in. We actually beat the SWAC champion to make the tournament. So those are the 2 programs that you look at when you look at an athletic department, just honestly. And Willa knows this, is football and men's basketball. Other programs, not to say that they're second to those programs, but in terms of the state of your athletic department, men's football and men's basketball and football are very important. But if you go down the line, all of our sports have been successful over the last couple of years. I think you can verify that by winning the Commissioner's Cup. There's going to be a tight race this year with Prairie View. And in the classroom, our student athletes are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, we have about 70% of our student athletes with a 3.0 or better. That graduation success rate is over 80%. So that's the most important thing. Equally as important is generating revenue.
Well, yeah. I can see in the chat room. The question is how you generate enough revenue. But talk about in the first hour of the show, we kind of talked about you can't do it alone. As far as the director of athletics, talk about your team that you have on side of you, not behind you, but on side of you that helps facilitate the athletic department.
Absolutely. And I tell people, if you ever see a turtle walking on top of the fence, tracking on top of the fence, one can surmise he or she didn't get there by themselves, right? So you have to have a strong team. And my team, in my eyes, is phenomenal. We have Cyrus Russ, who's the deputy athletic director. He spent 25 years in the Army as an officer. So you know that mindset is very important when you run an organization. Dr. Jaleese Longmady, Department of Student Athlete Experience, which includes academic and our athletic training program, our strength and conditioning program. He does a great job. And then we also have Keith Mafuni, who is our senior associate athletic director for external relations. And he heads up all of our donor relations and external side of the house. So those individuals really oversee. But they have great support underneath them in the director and coordinator role as well. So you're exactly right, Carlos. You cannot do it alone, and I'm forever indebted to my staff in terms of success that we've had.
Hey, Dr. Capel, one question real quick. Now, since you've been an athletic director, times have changed. You now have the NIL and the cost of attendance. Doc, how important is that to you as an athletic director? And how do you see Alabama State being able to move toward that?
I think we're in that space. We've already crossed over in some of our courses related to cost of attendance. I think it's something that you're going to have to do to remain competitive in the upcoming years. NIL is changing by the day. So our philosophy here at Alabama State is we want to provide our coaches with resources to be successful. So we do have a collective. We do have NIL opportunities for student athletes. More importantly, the education surrounding it, right? In terms of financial literacy, branding, the things that you have to know, tax preparation. Those things NIL are not always discussed. Involved in that space. If not,
Hey, now the last part you faded out, but let me ask this: in the SWAC meetings, do the ADs talk about these issues, and do they push it toward the presidential council to see that all the schools get some relief on this issue? Do you all do that?
Absolutely. In both our spring and winter meetings, we have discussions pertaining to NIL, cost of attendance, and other items that can definitely continue to put the SWAC at the forefront. Those things are discussed and also shared with the presidents through our commissioner in their meetings. And so there's plans in place as we continue to grow to make sure that each school has the resources to provide that funding, particularly in the student athlete space.
Dr. Capel, what is the feedback you get, from the other ADs in the conference, and do you get any feedback from the Council of Presidents on these initiatives?
Yeah, so I can speak about the ADs. The Council of Presidents meets separately, so I'm not engaged in those meetings, but I can tell you our president is very supportive, Dr. Ross Jr., very competitive person. So you have to have that in the president, because you understand to remain competitive, you have to spend money, you have to be creative and strategic in the way that you align yourself with the national standard. as it relates to other ADs in the conference, hey, everybody's trying to win. You see time in this conference where you had certain schools providing, just take for instance, scholarships at a certain level, and other schools were not doing that. And so you saw a number of schools winning a number of championships just because of that mere fact. Now, at least when you look at scholarships, the playing field is almost even. So that tells you the type of commitment the schools have made over the last 5 years to athletic programs. But there's resource barriers depending on where you are and their challenges, whether you're at Alabama State or Alabama A&M or Southern University. So you just have to how to work through those challenges and just get the best for the student athlete population.
We're visiting with Dr. Jason Cable, Director of Athletics at Alabama State. Dr. Cable, perspective on non-conference games. Now, I know Alabama, in basketball I'm talking specifically, I know Alabama State hosted USC, and that was a sellout. And last week we had Coach Johnson of Southern University saying that they're going to be less conference games, so it'll be more non-conference games. What is Alabama State's perspective and your perspective on non-conference games and playing them in basketball? Is there a balance? Do you think of revenue-generated games mostly, or just what is your perspective on those non-conference basketball games?
I think you have to schedule to win. You want to be strategic in your scheduling. Obviously, there's a revenue generation piece associated with men's basketball. But I think Coach Pettaway can attest to this. I remember going to Elmore Gymnasium, and very rarely did you see an L at home, right? So, if you can get teams to come to your home arena and play them, particularly at the Division I level, it puts you in a better position to win. That's what you do the program. So, yes, I think there's a balance in terms of guaranteed games. When you look at those guaranteed games, you want to play teams that you can beat early in the season based on talent, based on if they had a high turnover, if they got new coaches. You never know how that will play out. It could play out in your favor. And so for me, the balance is revenue generating games. You want to play teams that you feel like that you can beat. And if you can get some teams to come to your home venue, I think that's to your benefit as well.
So that's interesting. We've had this long drawn out debates about how many guarantee games that you should play. Some programs have played 10, 12 of those guarantee games. But then the conversation turns to, well, you got to win the conference. And we kind of think here that has a reflection maybe on the conference games. But do you have a set limit of guarantee games that the basketball team plays at Alabama State?
I work with Coach Madlock. You have to work with your coach, and he's the king of his program, and make sure that he's comfortable with the schedule. And the two schools of thought. I mean, you can see Coach McDavis years ago at Texas Southern. His philosophy is, I'm gonna go out and play all guarantee games. I'm gonna play all for the conference, and he won 86% of the SWAC contest, right? And so I think it really has to put in that equation the coach and the coach's philosophy, the type of team that the coach has, and the way that he sees it. And then we can have some conversations about the type of revenue generating opponent that we play. But in terms of the number, I think Coach and I have talked about around 6 to 8. Right, and then those other games that we have open, we want to get a home and home, and then we'll play 2 non-Division I teams. If we have room on the schedule, kind of to make sure you want to get a taste of winning before you get in the conference. Not to say you can't get upset, but you want to put yourself in a position to win some non-conference games before going into the conference.
So it seems like Coach Pettaway, Wheeler, and Dr. Cable, again, you try to get that balance, because we also talked about on the show as a conference, net rating, RPI, it needs to improve, and there's a philosophy, different trains of thought about how you do that. with the balance of generating revenue, but then overall helping the conference get a better RPI rating as a conference?
Yeah, I think that's important. So when you look at the conference as a whole, I think you want your better teams to go out and schedule wins. Hopefully, they're in a position where they don't have to go out and generate a whole lot of revenue. The teams in the lower tier of the conference, I think you want to get them to the point where they can win. But right now, I'm just focused on Alabama State. Definitely a SWAC guy. I want to see the whole conference do well, and I think that's the way you do it. But we did Alabama eight non-conference games, mix it up with revenue and teams that you can do.
Right.
So guys,
Go ahead, Carlos.
No, I was going to say I can't convince Dr. Cable from the outside looking in to knock those games down to 4. So I won't try. Go ahead, Coach Pettaway.
No. I was going to ask Dr. Capers about the new playing format for men and women's basketball. That's new on the horizon, and so no one's had an opportunity to experience that yet. And then also, when they say that they're changing the number of conference games, has that been set yet? And if so, what have they lowered it to?
Well, so this is provisional. Everything that we do has to go through the Council of Presidents for approval.
Okay.
And so I think that the new schedule really aligns with setting additional light on women's basketball. It's such a growing sport, and oftentimes we play 2 games a day, right? You got the men first, women first, men second, and giving them a sole day in which fans and supporters can watch them play. And also it frees them up TV as well, right? And so we just see it as an opportunity to grow the conference to align with what is the national standard. You have very few conferences right now that have a schedule like us where we play on a Saturday and Monday, 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Monday. So this will be the first step. I think the goal is to get to a point where we don't play 2 games on one day, right? And we can maybe separate the men's and women's basketball time. But I think that's 5 or 6 years down the road. But in terms, but that that's the table speaking, right? That's just my thought process there. But I think the schedule we'll see. We had the 18 game schedule this year. This is the second where each team can play everybody twice, right? So you had some pros and cons there. And so as we continue to grow as a conference, we don't know if we finish adding teams. The schedule may change. But right now, I like it. I like the way we're going.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, Dr. Cable. So I know it has to become official, but there will be less conference games played, correct?
There's a potential.
Okay.
We just got finished with basketball season a couple of weeks ago. I had turned the page to really dive into next year's schedule and beyond. But there's a potential to play less conference games. But right now, we're still at, from my understanding, we're still at the 18.
We're visiting with Dr. Jason Cable, Director of Athletics at Alabama State. Kind of been talking a lot about basketball. Football, you have the conference championship on the campuses. That looks to be a very productive situation. Do you see that continuing in that form, or down the line, do we look, because we always hear these conversations about maybe having a neutral site, but as of now, it's still on the campuses, and it has been productive, correct?
Correct. I think it comes down to the revenue generated on campus. When you look at, I remember, I think I was at Alcorn, Alcorn to the championship, so I can speak in terms of impact. They're playing the SWAC championship game. We're talking about 7 figures to the institution. And so I think you only move it if you can get that or more. Okay, and so I think right now I don't see us making a decision to move the championship game off a conference from the conference divisional league.
Right.
The team with the best record hosts the game. So I don't think that format changes.
Yeah, for the team that hosts, it's very lucrative, and it gives incentives to other teams to at least get to the championship and host of that
Yeah.
game. Also, Dr. Cable, baseball, SWAC baseball tournaments kind of moved around a little bit. Where do you see that going in the future? Will it come a point, in just your humble opinion, that it'll try to stay at a certain area for a while, or do you have to, or do you see it kind of maybe moving again in the near future?
I think it was very productive in Atlanta this year at Georgia Tech. I think it stays there. But let me just statement. We moved based on the better deal. And
Hmm.
the athletic directors work hand in hand with the commissioner and his staff on champions. And so every move that has been made thus far has been predicated on the best fit for the SWAC conference office. So that includes travel time for schools, revenue going, revenue sharing, because anything that is made at the conference level goes back out to the institution. So it's a lot to be factored in there. But I think right now, for baseball, we're in a sweet spot happening in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Now, Atlanta's
sure.
also going to host the SWAC basketball tournament this next year. Have
Right.
they determined what site yet?
Don't have a site yet, but all those things I just mentioned in terms of revenue generation, the site being easy for teams to get to. I think Atlanta fits the bill there. And there's some excitement surrounding moving the tournament to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Atlanta, Georgia, of course, a lot of alums in that city from the different institutions in the conference. So I guess we'll kind of wait to hear it officially uh, pretty soon. Dr. Cable, former collegiate basketball player, March Madness. It truly has the right term, March Madness. Do we see, we talk about the word parity on the men's side. On the women's side, I don't think it's ever been as popular, women basketball, as it is now. What's kind of your thoughts on March Madness and the popularity of women basketball?
I love the popularity of women's basketball. I think it was a sport that was underwatched. And I think that, you look at the skill set in the young women and the way that they play the game, I would say they play it more the right way
Yeah.
than on the men's side. So I'm glad we merged in terms of the popularity with women's basketball. In terms of a team, they're going to be very, very tough to beat in the tournament. On the men's side, I think the parity, if you look at the transfer portal, you can get good really fast. So now you have teams that are not blue blood, so to speak, that have the talent to get to the Final Four and even possibly win the national championship. You look at a team like NC State, even the University of Alabama, you look at their roster, heavily impacted by the transfer portal. But with saying all that, UConn is still one of those teams out there that are very dangerous and probably will be playing for the national championship.
Yeah, it's a tournament worth billions of dollars, and it'll be interesting to see, because a lot of I think fans always pull for the quote unquote underdogs. Then your mid majors. Then of course you do have your blue bloods. In closing, Dr. Cable, where do you see Alabama State athletics in the next few years?
Well, we like to use the term dominate. We would like to dominate in all spaces, on the court, field of play, also in the classroom, in the community. We want to generate revenue at a point where we're able to do some things that we weren't normally able to do, right? And so I think if you're not doing that, you're not setting the goal to dominate, then you're feeling yourself. You're feeling a student athlete. So I won't give away all the trade secrets, but we have a lot of things going on in Alabama State that I think are screen setting, and it's an exciting time to be a Hornet.
Well, one sport we didn't talk about, Alabama State baseball, a tremendous program. And Dr. Cable, when will we see Alabama State alumni in Baton Rouge? The last time I saw you was at SWAC Football Media Day, and you kind of let a little surprise out that I said, when Southern Alabama State going to play? And you said, just keep watching. And lo and behold, they went to Montgomery and got an L. So anyway, when will we see Alabama State in Baton Rouge where you can come visit again?
We have a contract, so we're coming. Home, I won't come to L, too strongly because we got to come to Baton Rouge. So.
Oh boy!
Okay. Tough place to play in any sport.
Yeah. Well, great atmosphere. You'll get fed very well.
Yeah, they try to fool you. So I'm not gonna eat.
Yeah.
Willa, you know about this.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, yeah. Coach Pettaway had a good time, and up to what you said, Alabama A&M came back with a loss. So is that the secret? Feed them well. And
there's a lot going on when you get in.
Fatten you up for the kill.
On that note, Dr. Cable, appreciate the time. We look forward to talking with you again, and best of success, continued success at Alabama State and Hornets Nation.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Jason. Take care.
All right.
All
right. That was Dr. Jason Cable. And, Wheeler, once again, it's tough being the director of athletics. 2, you got to have a good team around you. 3, you're not going to make everybody happy all of the time. Maybe 50% of the time is probably the best way. 4, you got to work with the people over you.
I was glad to hear him. I was glad to hear him emphasize, Carlos, the student athlete facet of what it is that we do, that sort of thing. I think a lot of times that get lost in the sauce. We're so concerned about the dollars and cents and things of that nature that sometimes or most of the times the student athlete gets put on the back burner. So I was glad to see and hear his emphasis on the welfare of the student athlete. I just think that's just so important, and you can't stress that enough.
Yep.
Right. Well, student athletes, most important. From the academic side, if you didn't have students, you wouldn't have universities.
True.
Athletics. Oh, yeah. Carlos says, feed them well and kill them with kindness and try to defeat them. Well, use anything to your advantage. But, there was a time when you came into A.W. Mumford Stadium, and it was a tough place. Yeah. Coach Pete Richardson and what he did there. Then you had Coach Dawson Odoms, did well at Southern University. Now Coach Graves, when you think about it, Coach Graves to me is old school, but he's also new school. And I think you have to have that balance. That's that word again, Coach Pettaway.
Balance.
You got to have balance. You can't be an extremist to one side or the other. So I guess I should apologize for calling Willa a hardliner last week. He's going to be balanced. But once again, what I like about this show, you get the administrative perspective, you get a coach's perspective, and those are important things. And some of the topics that we discuss, they are important. And right now, we know college athletics is ever changing. So here's another word that we use. It's got to be an adjustment made, and that adjustment has to be made by all. It's just not I; it's a team. And so today we've talked about cost of attendance, collective. Those are terms that are needed. I didn't get into Dr. Cable about the Title IX situation, but we had EA brought it up. And Title IX is just here to stay, whether you like it or not. It's a federal law. And so once again, you have to balance it. And then Will and Vann, I read a couple of years ago that most college athletic departments are not really making money. There are only very few.
Very few.
And then you also look at student fees that go into athletics. Dr. Cavill talked to me about that, and I guess I need to get a refresher course. All of these things, scholarships, insurance on the student athletes. It's a whole lot of things. So, sometimes I joke or I'm hard on ADs, but I also know that they do have a tough job, and it's not for anybody. It's not for anybody that can do it. The coaching perspective, it's tough coaching now. I believe you have other factors that you got to think about. What have we talked about on today's show? You have to recruit those students. You get somebody in the first year, next year you got to recruit them again. Because what? The transfer portal. It gives and it takes away. So it's tough. So you got to make the adjustment. We're overdue for a timeout. When we come back, we'll get your thoughts on the interview with Dr. Cable. Also, we will have a update on Southern University spring football practice, and a lot of the football teams they're going to have their spring games coming up in the month of April. Also, Coach Pettaway, Alabama A&M women's basketball search. We'll get an update on them as well. And Alabama men's basketball team did well in the postseason.
Right. Yeah, they're still playing.
Well. Right. Yeah. So we'll come back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong.
Go get 'em.
It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Remember, hit the like button, thumbs up, notification, share, all of those good things. Not only the Carlos Brown Show, but all the shows on the network. Wheeler, you would like this. Southern University new offensive scheme. It's called the Gumbo O.
A little bit of everything.
Graves said of this Gumbo O, spice, his flavor. Coach Mark Frederick, first year as offensive coordinator in a run-first offense, but don't be fooled. I think it'll be a little bit of both. I think it'll be that word again, balance. Yeah, but Coach Graves is liking what he seeing. He says, I like the energy of the guys bouncing around, running around, really having fun. They're working hard to carry out the assignments and learning a new offense from offensive coordinator Coach Frederick. Of course, Coach Miller is coming back as defensive coordinator. You got a new strength and conditioning coach. And then, of course, quarterback situation. You've got Bolton. You got Savalian Tissette, local guy from Scotlandville High School in Baton Rouge, and then Jalen Wood. So you got two redshirt freshmen and Bolton, who started in the Bayou Classic. So Coach Graves says the competition is open, and that's what I like. Those who earn the starting position will earn it during the spring and continue on to the fall. But Gumbo offense, wow. That's a new one, Coach Pettaway.
Yeah, hey, Carlos, the young man during the football season, you all had a recruit on that had signed out of high school, and he was a kick returner and a running back. Did he get in school early? Did he come in school in January?
No, let me see. Oh, the one that I had on from out of high school?
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that. That's a young man, I think, from St. Augustine High School.
Right.
I'll find out, or somebody in the chat room will let me know. And if Coach Graves is listening,
yeah, be curious to see if that kid is on campus and getting this experience of spring game and spring practice, because it'll help him going into the fall.
Yeah, let's see if he graduated early, and let's see if he's in school. If not, I'm sure he'll be there in the summer.
Right. A lot of kids are doing that.
And Carlos, everybody feels good this time of the year. Yeah. I mean, I've never talked to a football coach who was unhappy with spring progress.
And they won't tell you if that's the case.
Even though you may have some holes there, that sort of thing. But, normally, it's great to get the kids back out there. They're flying around, hitting everything that moves. There's a little relief from the strength and conditioning process. They're anxious to get out there and compete for jobs and show what they can do, that sort of thing. Giving the coaches an opportunity to see, where they're shorthanded, what else they need to show up, in terms of the recruiting process. And so it's a great time of the year, to be a football coach. At the same time, from a coaching point of view, they're keeping their eyes on the prize. There's no doubt about that. And they're looking forward to getting through the spring so they can get back out there and kind of see what else is left out there, what pieces they can pick up in order to complement what it is they already have and to get ready for the fall. Because we all know that come August 1, it's for real. Everything.
It's part of the process. Spring
Yeah,
practice.
we playing right now, Carlos. We, we're mixing the batter and putting the ingredients in right now. But come August 1, we got to put that baby in the oven and see what comes out.
Yeah, because you literally have 30 days or less to get it done. So yeah, spring is part of the process. If I can go back, switch gears. There was discussion in the chat room, of course, in Atlanta. Dr. Cavill says Morehouse Forbes Arena, 6,000. And then it was another arena that capacity is 7,000. College Park's Center Arena, 7,000. Coach Pettaway, I think 7,000 is a nice size capacity because you've had it like in Houston and big arenas that 20,000. 6 or 7,000 to me, just my opinion, that is a nice size arena as far as capacity to have the tournament.
Right, yeah, and you play it there, and then when you start selling it out, then you move bigger. So to be in a facility to that size would make it intimate, and I think you'd probably get better reaction from it. So I look forward to it. Being in Atlanta, the fans that do go, we're having opportunities for other entertainment and that kind of stuff. So I think it's a win-win for the conference. And like Dr. Caper said, every move that's been made has been to benefit the conference. So I'm quite sure they've done their research and they're looking forward to giving it a shot. And we have to give it a chance, to see if it's going to work.
And I think, the way I frown on having it on a college campus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes some of the luster, takes some of the shine off. Granted, Morehouse could have a great facility, that sort of thing. I'm not slamming them by any stretch of the imagination. I just think that when you talk about tournament type atmosphere, you talk about the conference tournament, you talk about your shining showcase, in terms of putting the face of your entire 12, 13 team conference out there. I just think your finals need to be in an arena type setting. If it's a smaller arena, then fine, but I just think, just from a visual point of view, I just think that having it, in some kind of city arena or something to that effect gives it a better look conference wise, than if you're having it on a college campus. Now, I'm good for the preliminary rounds, that sort of thing, site of the highest seed, all that good stuff to go with that, but when you talk about your semis and your finals, I just think that needs to be in a general arena of some sort, even if it's a smaller type arena, but just to get that arena type feel.
Well, in that case, College Park Center Arena, 7,000. I think that would be the better, just in my opinion, the better venue.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I've been to Morehouse. I've been in their facility. That's pretty nice. Parking will probably be a challenge at Morehouse, but the other facility, I haven't been there, so I don't know about the size. I don't know about parking and all of that, but I've been to Morehouse. They've got a nice facility.
Yeah. And I'm a member of a text group, of course, group message with the Black College Sports Network, and they were discussing that arena that I was talking about, relatively new, College Park Center.
Okay.
I'll look it up and look at the venue as far as from the perspective of how it looks and parking.
And now, Carlos, you think they'll still take the top 8
for the tournament?
Yes.
Unless they make some changes, I think it's still set. The top
Right,
8,
okay.
top 8 teams. But years ago, and I don't want to bring it up because I for many years I was considered anti-tournament because I say take the regular season champs, but I'm in the minority on that, so I have to evolve, and so I think eight teams will be the number for the next year. Now, with that being said, Coach Pettaway, are you suggested that maybe they should look at changing it?
Oh, no. I was just, since they changed the site, I was just wondering if they were going to change how many teams. No. I think the 8 is proven to be pretty good because, like when I was in the conference, you had one AD saying, one president saying, my team played all season and they finished 10th because it was only 10 teams then.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I need to pay for them to go somewhere to a tournament when I know that I'm spending money and their chances are slim and none? So that's why some of the presidents were all for only bringing the top teams. Don't bring in the bottom teams because that's an expense they didn't want to incur.
Well, last week I got in trouble. I said, all those guarantee games they play, money should not be an option of sending them. But you know what? There's a school of thought that, hey, why not take less? Take the teams 1 through 6. Oh, we're getting all those discussions. Remember baseball?
I think that's why. But I think that's why you have the first round at the site of the high seed. Because you give everybody an opportunity to quote unquote go to the tournament. But at the same, and you're not spending as much money as you would if they're spending an entire week in Birmingham or what have you. So you're rewarding those kids, regardless of whether or not they were 0-12 in the conference or what have you. I think everybody needs to go to the conference tournament. And then it weeds itself out from there. But you have that first round at the site of the higher seed, so you're still getting everybody in, but you're not spending the kind of dollars that you would spend, for a week in one place, that sort of thing.
Wait a minute, Will. You're not advocating everybody, all 12 teams.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, my.
And you see it.
We're going to reward the teams that didn't do well, huh?
You go to the site of the high seed, for those first couple rounds or what have you, and then come Thursday or what have you, you go into your main venue, Birmingham or Atlanta or what have you, and you're blowing it up and you're making a big, whoop-de-doo from there. But, you're making it a rewarding situation for those schools that do well, but at the same time, you're giving a little guy a shot, and you never know who might catch a lightning in a bottle, Carlos, at the last minute.
But you know what?
I'll have to think about that one, Wheeler. I mean, because,
let me tell you why I don't think that'll work, Carlos. Carlos, you know why it won't work? Because you think about this. He said you play your early rounds on campuses, right? So I'm assuming your first game is going to be on Tuesday. Well, if you play on Tuesday, that means Wednesday is a travel day for you. Well, if you're coming from Texas to Atlanta, you might have an issue. You might have a problem getting there in terms of arranging flights and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think they'll keep it at 8 and put all of them in one place. But the earlier rounds, the earliest you're going to be able to play is on a Tuesday because your conference season ended that Saturday.
And coach, they did that before, with the higher seeds played on their home court, and then the semifinals and the finals moved to
right.
a
but that was
location.
Friday, Saturday. Yeah, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. So you had an extra day in there for travel.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, speaking of travel, yesterday UAPB. This isn't baseball. Over Alcorn State 29-3. Man, that's tough. But March 28th, that same team, Alcorn, was down 7-0 to UAPB, and they rallied to win 8-7. Grambling State over Texas Southern 13-5. FAMU over Jackson State 10-1. Bethune-Cookman over Alabama A&M 8-7. And then yesterday, Alabama State over Mississippi Valley State 16-6. GSU, wow, they're putting up. They're averaging 13 runs in this series. Defeated Texas Southern 13-3. Of course, UAPB over Alcorn State 29-3. FAMU over JSU 8-2. Alabama State over Mississippi Valley State 9-4. And Bethune-Cookman over Alabama A&M 6-2. And Southern University over Prairie View A&M 7-5. That Jackson State loses their first conference series and their first 2 losses, but baseball in the swing of things, conference-wise, Wheeler and Coach Pettaway.
Yeah, but they don't have a mercy rule in baseball.
Yeah.
Well, why did Alcorn? Why did they let them? The 29-3? Come on.
Because mercy? Throw the damn towel in. But I was listening to the game, and it was 7-0, and then Alcorn State scored 3 runs, so it was 7-3, and then I had to go do something, so I couldn't listen to the rest of it, and then 29-3.
Wow.
Coach Williams at Alcorn. Yeah, at Alcorn State, year 2? You saw some improvement, but boy, right now they have it tough. Now, you can only just forget about that. Burn that tape.
Right.
and then you come out today, and if they can get the victory, they win the series.
Yeah, but they're playing against Alcorn is playing against the 7th place team. Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're right there together. One of them's 2-7, the other one's 1-7 in the league. And man, that big of a difference between the last place team and the team in front of it. That's amazing. But your Jaguars are 3-0 in conference play. Grambling 6-0. And then on the East, Bethune and FAM look like they're trying to meet again in the championship. One of them 6-1, the other 6-2. Them Florida schools get a jump on us because they get to play and practice in that warm weather down there, whereas down here, we dodge the elements. So they got an advantage up there.
Well, it's nice and warm and humid in Baton Rouge, and I had some concerns with this baseball team, and I still have some concerns. But hey, right now, but it looks like Grambling State University, and it's still early, albeit in conference play. But Grambling State University looks like they're pretty tough, tough. So based on what we see so far, could it come down to Grambling State, Southern, and Prairie View in the Western Division? What Alabama State? Where are they, Coach?
They're in 4th place. They're 4-3. They're in 4th place right now. 12-12 on overall, but 4-3 in the SWAC. And then of course Alabama A&M is 1-7, and Valley's 0-7. But at least Valley got 8 wins in the non-conference. They're 8-15. So baseball, man, they're playing some great baseball all over the conference.
Well,
and I think in the East it's going to come down between Bethune, FAM, and either Jackson State. I think those will be the 3 teams that'll be battling out in the East.
Well, it's kind of interesting that, usually the last 4 or 5 seasons, we talk about Alabama State.
Yep.
But it seems like maybe they're struggling right now. We got about 3 minutes left. We visited with Dr. Jason Cable, Director of Athletics at Alabama State. Gave you a HBCU basketball results. Norfolk State CIT champs defeated Purdue Fort Wayne 75-67. North Carolina A&T women's team season came to an end. They lost to Troy 89-75. And Freed Hartman of Tennessee defeated Langston in the NAIA championship. Wheeler, closing comments. Less than 2 minutes left.
Kudos to my alma mater, North Carolina A&T, in terms of the women's NIT. I think they really stepped up and showed a lot. Coach Terrell Robinson, a favorite of mine from way, way back, has always done an excellent job. And, just go Aggies and stay with it. But, I'm just appreciative of the travels, how far they've come all the way around, and, to be in the CAA and, be able to stand tall and, be players right away, really says a lot for the state of the program.
Right.
Coach
and I just want to echo, I'm glad to hear that Dr. Capers was able to tell us that the ADs are sending the initiatives forward to the presidents, and that ADs are at least discussing these things, because we all want the SWAC to remain the top conference out there, regardless of we ain't talking about HBCU, just the top conference, period. So my hat's off to them, and I hope they keep up the good work, because we need that.
I just want to say thanks and congratulations to all of the basketball coaches, both on the women and men's side, for a successful season. We had some good wins out of conference.
Yeah.
Tough competition, competitive in conference. So keep up the good work. And Coach Reed, I'm going to send an invitation to her to come on this show. She really, because last week we talked about her, and, Connecticut coach said basically, look, this basketball coach needs to get opportunities elsewhere. But she chose to stay at Jackson State, and she's an advocate for HBCU athletics, and she wants to be a difference maker. On that note, I want to thank Melanie, all of our guests, those in the chat room. Have a great holiday tomorrow, and join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace, and we don't have to close out with that. God bless.